Andrew is a high school kid who lives with his mom, Karen, who is battling cancer, and his dad, Richard, a former firefighter who got badly injured on the job and now survives on insurance. Sadly, Richard often takes his frustration out on Andrew and treats him harshly.
I say open that door, you open the door. You got it?
Andrew himself is very introverted. He only really has one friend, his cousin Matt. On top of that, he gets bullied a lot at school. Life feels heavy and lonely for him, so he buys a cheap camera to start vlogging and keep himself busy. It is something Matt's girlfriend Casey also does. But instead of helping, the camera actually makes things worse for Andrew since it is big and awkward, and people are not used to seeing someone recording in public yet. Trying to get him out of the house, Matt invites Andrew to a party. Once they get there, Matt leaves him alone so he can try to socialize. But for someone who is used to being alone, Andrew has no idea what to do in a place like that. In the middle of the party, he runs into Casey, who is also filming for her vlog. While recording, Andrew accidentally points his camera at a girl, which makes her boyfriend angry enough to spit on him. Feeling out of place, Andrew leaves the party and sits alone near the parking lot. Not long after, he is approached by Steve, one of the most popular guys in school who is running for student body president. Unlike the others, Steve is actually friendly. He invites Andrew to check out a strange hole nearby that he discovered with Matt. At first, Andrew is hesitant, but the idea of filming something interesting convinces him to go. When they arrive, they hear a loud humming sound coming from inside. Curiosity takes over, and the three of them decide to go in, with Steve leading the way. Inside, they discover a cave. At the end of it, there is a strange crystal-like structure glowing bright blue, almost like something alive inside it. Slowly, the light begins to shift into red. The whole thing shocks them, but strangely, nothing happens to them right away, and they all seem fine. However, a few days later, something changes. The energy from that crystal gives them telekinetic abilities, meaning they can move objects without touching them. They start practicing together, doing simple things like tossing baseballs and building Lego. Andrew quickly stands out as the one who learns the fastest and has the most control.
Dude, I hate you.
I'm impressed, man. I am impressed.
That was
When they return to the cave, the hole has already been filled in, and security forces them to leave since the land is being sealed off. After that, Andrew buys a smaller, more normal camera and even takes his mom out for a walk while filming. With their new powers, the group starts messing around for fun. They pull pranks like lifting a girl's skirt with a blower, messing with shoppers, annoying a diner waiter, and even moving people's cars. But they soon realize that using too much power on heavy objects takes a toll on them, causing nosebleeds when they push too hard. So yeah, life actually starts to feel way more fun for Andrew now that he has these powers and a small crew to share it with. But things almost go too far when he loses control and messes with a moving car.
Whoa!
The car ends up crashing into a river, and the driver nearly drowns. After that close call, Matt steps in and sets some ground rules for all of them. First, they can never use their powers on any living being. Second, no using powers when they are angry. And last, they cannot use or even talk about their abilities in public, especially since they are getting stronger by the day. Not long after, they even figure out how to fly.
Where the hell are we? Big hyperdrive!
At one point, they almost collide with a plane, which shows just how risky things are getting. Later on, while working on a school assignment in the library, Andrew mentions that he wants to take a trip to Tibet with his friends. To him, it sounds like a peaceful place, somewhere calm and quiet. After school, Andrew and Steve fly out over the city and hang out on top of a tall building. Andrew opens up about how his life feels more colorful now, compared to before when it was just him and Matt. And even then, he still felt distant. Since Steve is still struggling with controlling smaller objects, Andrew explains that it is all about imagination, like pretending you are actually holding the object. Hearing that, Steve suggests something bold. He thinks Andrew should show off his telekinesis at the school talent show, since he is clearly the strongest out of the three. Andrew actually agrees, and Steve even lends him some clothes for the performance. For once, Andrew looks genuinely happy, but right before he leaves, his dad starts getting suspicious, noticing that Matt no longer picks Andrew up from school, even though it is quite far from home. At the talent show, students are showing off all kinds of skills, from bands to dancing to singing. Then it is Andrew's turn, with Steve by his side, while Matt records everything from a distance. At first, Andrew looks a bit nervous, but the moment he pulls off his trick by bringing scattered cards back into his hand without touching them, the crowd is completely stunned. He keeps going with more tricks, throwing balls at Steve without using his hands and even balancing on a rope. Everyone just assumes he is insanely good at magic. After that performance, things change for Andrew. He becomes more confident, starts going to parties, talks to more people, and suddenly everyone at school is curious about him. He even gets attention from a girl who tries to kiss him. But since he is not used to drinking and does not handle it well, he ends up throwing up, and the girl quickly loses interest and walks away. Then when Steve comes over to cheer him up, Andrew pushes him away, convinced that Steve is only there to make fun of him. The next day, things get worse at home. Karen is in pain and needs her medicine, but Andrew cannot find his dad anywhere. It turns out Richard has been going through Andrew's room and finds his new camera. That only makes him furious. He thinks Andrew is wasting money on something useless while his mom is seriously sick. He also complains about all the money he has spent on Andrew's education. Andrew finally snaps back. He defends himself and calls his dad an idiot, explaining that he saved up for the camera himself and that his school is actually free. He also points out that his dad barely gives him any money anyway. That only makes Richard even angrier, and once again, Andrew gets beaten badly. But this time, something is different. Andrew fights back, using a bit of his power, because his emotions are so intense that energy somehow reaches Matt and Steve too. They both hear a loud ringing in their heads, followed by heavy nosebleeds and headaches. Matt ignores it and does not pick up Steve's call since he is busy spending time with Casey. Meanwhile, Steve follows the strange sensation and eventually finds Andrew floating high in the sky, surrounded by storm clouds. Steve tries to calm him down and calls out Richard for how he has been treating Andrew. But Andrew is already overwhelmed. He feels humiliated after what happened at the party, knowing everyone at school will hear about it. He feels hurt from never having a proper father figure. All that pain just keeps building up. He tells Steve to leave because he wants to be alone. Even so, Steve stays and keeps trying to help him. But in the middle of all that emotion, something goes terribly wrong. Andrew loses control and accidentally calls down lightning. It strikes Steve, and just like that, Steve is gone. At the funeral, Matt says that even though he was not there, he is convinced Andrew caused Steve's death. The situation just does not make sense, especially with Steve being found out in the open during a storm. But Andrew refuses to talk about it and simply walks away. The next day, when the funeral is over and the place is quiet, Andrew returns to Steve's grave. He is filled with guilt, knowing that it all happened because he lost control. After that, he goes back to the old cave where everything started, which is now completely covered with grass. And just like he expected, when he returns to school, the bullying has not stopped at all. Because the rumor about Andrew throwing up at the party spreads everywhere, the bullying only gets worse. But this time, Andrew does not stay quiet. He fights back in a brutal way, pulling out several teeth from one of the school bullies. From here, something in Andrew starts to change. Slowly, he begins turning into someone much darker. All the pain he has been carrying, the abuse from his father, the constant bullying, the loneliness, the struggle to connect with anyone, and his mom's illness, it all starts to mess with his mind. The only thing that makes him feel seen and in control now is his power. At some point, Andrew even starts calling himself the apex predator, like he is the strongest being on Earth. One day, while trying to buy medicine for his mom, Matt suddenly shows up to confront him about the incident at school. Matt knows Andrew has become too powerful and warns him that he will step in if things get out of hand again. But Andrew easily stops Matt from even touching him and pushes his own friend away. Things get even worse when Andrew realizes he cannot afford the medicine because it is too expensive. On top of that, his dad is nowhere to be found and does not seem to care at all about his mom's condition. Overwhelmed with anger, Andrew puts on his dad's old firefighter uniform to hide his identity. Then he starts using his powers to rob people around the neighborhood and even hits a gas station store, all just to get money for the medicine. But everything goes wrong. During the robbery, he gets badly burned when a shotgun he throws accidentally fires into a gas tank, causing an explosion. He is rushed to the hospital, and the police quickly secure his room after finding evidence from the gas station CCTV. While Andrew is still unconscious, Richard comes to visit him. Instead of showing concern, he blames Andrew and claims that Karen has died in her bed, making it sound like it is all Andrew's fault. He even pushes Andrew to take responsibility, clearly aware that the room is being recorded. When Andrew finally wakes up, that is when everything explodes, not just physically, but emotionally. Overwhelmed with rage, he completely destroys the hospital room, fed up with everything his father has
Your
said.
mother is dead, and it is your fault!
At the same time, Matt is at a family birthday party when he suddenly hears that same loud ringing again. His nose starts bleeding badly, and he gets a terrible headache. Then he sees the news about a massive explosion at the hospital, possibly caused by a bomb. Realizing this has to be Andrew, Matt immediately heads there, with Casey insisting on coming along. By the time Matt and Casey arrive, the roads are already blocked off, and the hospital is surrounded by police and curious crowds. Then suddenly, everyone is shocked as Andrew appears, floating in the air, and casually drops his own father from above. Without hesitation, Matt flies in to save Richard, and this is the moment Casey realizes Matt has powers too. He catches Richard just in time. As Matt tries to get Casey out of there safely, Andrew refuses to let them go. He starts attacking, throwing a helicopter and even lifting the car Matt and Casey are in, sending it toward the Space Needle in the middle of the city.
Oh, God! Hold on! Hold on to me! Ah!
Luckily, Matt manages to save Casey after Andrew drops her. Even then, Matt keeps trying to calm Andrew down. But Andrew is completely out of control now. He is furious that Matt saved Richard, the very person he wants revenge on. At the same time, everything is being recorded, and the media is already watching them. Andrew does not care. In his mind, he is the apex predator, and he believes he can do anything he wants. What follows is a massive fight. Matt does his best to hold Andrew back without hurting him. At one point, Andrew gets knocked down after being electrocuted by a streetlight. The police surround them, and Matt even gets shot in his right arm. But Andrew snaps again. He throws the entire police force away like they are nothing and continues fighting Matt. The battle drags them both toward a statue holding a spear. The police open fire again, but Andrew easily stops all the bullets and sends them back. Everything spirals out of control. Andrew becomes more destructive, threatening to tear down buildings and put countless lives at risk. And in the end, Matt is left with no choice. To stop the chaos and save everyone, Matt uses the spear from the statue and strikes Andrew from behind, killing him. Even then, Matt knows deep down that Andrew was never truly a bad person. He was just overwhelmed by pain, anger, and everything he had been through. After everything that happened, Matt is the only one left. To honor both Steve and Andrew, he travels alone to Tibet, filming himself with Andrew's old camera. There, he makes a promise to use his powers to help others and to uncover the truth behind the mysterious force that changed their lives forever. So the moral of the story is, if life gives you superpowers, maybe don't use them to pull skirts, rob gas stations, and yeet helicopters like it's GTA. Just go to therapy, bro.